Hello and welcome to Drunk on Tea. Ghosts are featured in a variety of different forms across the settings of Warhammer, from the Nighthaunts in Age of Sigmar to the Army of the Dead for Middle-earth strategy battle game. Painting ghosts is a challenge for some people, especially to keep detail and not have the minis look like greenish blobs. In this video I'll show you my simple method for painting great looking ghosts that can be used in any setting. This is the model I'll be painting today, a shade from Middle-earth strategy battle game, which I've primed white, but these techniques will work on any ghost model. First, with Balthazar Gold, I'm going to paint all the metal details on the model. On this shade is any chainmail, arm guards or crowns, but on different minis this may be some weapons or other armour areas. I'm being careful to only paint this over the areas I want to look like metal. The Balthazar Gold will give a nice copper kind of colour, which will give the impression of old rusty metal and works really well for giving the impression of a few metal details on the ghosts. Making sure I pick out all of the metal details on the model, making sure that I don't get any of this paint over the white primer, and just painting the metal details with Balthazar Gold. With metal details picked out, it's added some detail to this shade. And now with some Cadian flesh tone, I'm going to paint the skin. I'm painting all the areas of exposed skin on this model, which are the arms and the faces. I'm making sure I get a solid coat of paint in these areas. I'm using Cadian flesh tone for this, as Bugman's Glow would be too dark, but Cadian flesh tone will give a good base colour for the steps I'm going to apply next. When I'm painting the faces, I'm making sure to leave the hair white, so I'm avoiding painting over the beards or the hair. If I do paint over these areas by accident, I'm going to tidy back up with some white afterwards. Painting the skin will bring out those details and add some character to the model. Much like why I painted the metal earlier, these few extra details will work with the ghostly effect to give a really nice model for the tabletop. With the skin painted, these are all of the details I'm going to paint on these models. But you could pick out a couple more details if you wanted, like the hair and the beards, or these little ruffs of fabric, but less is often more when it comes to painting, so I tend to only paint 2 or 3 details on my ghosts, but there are more that could be picked out if you wanted. Now with Nighthaunts Oxide, I'm going to paint all over the model. With a large brush, I'm applying the Nighthaunts Oxide all over the shade. I'm going to apply this all over the areas, including the ones I've already painted, so the skin and the metal. This will tie the whole model together and give the ghostly look to the entire model. Nighthaunts Oxide is a great technical paint for this job, especially over the white primer. It will work a little bit like a shade or a contrast paint and leave some areas as the ghostly greenish colour, while also leaving some of the white showing through, but staining everything to give some continuity to the colour. I don't want this to pool too heavily, so if I do find it pooling, I'll move the paint away before it dries. This paint will dry quite quick, so I'm working around the model so I don't paint over areas that I've already been painting. This will avoid leaving any tide lines or dark areas, and I'm just making sure that the whole model gets a shade with Nighthaunts Oxide. If you're enjoying the video, please press like. If you want more videos, press the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. And if you'd like to support the channel, please become a member by pressing the join button down below or joining me over on Patreon. And after the paint has dried, you can see it's given a great looking ghostly effect all over the model, and it's really brought out definition on the model as well. So now with some white scar, I'm going to apply a dry brush. I'm taking most of the paint off of the brush, so there's only a little bit of paint left, which should just pick out the raised areas. Now I'm lightly flicking the brush across the model. This will leave a small amount of white on the most raised details, but leaving the other colours showing in the recesses. I'm being very gentle with the brush as I don't want to apply too much white. I'd rather come back and apply another dry brush if the effect isn't strong enough. I'm dry brushing this all over the model, so all over the body, the skin and the metal. This will work really well with the Nighthaunts oxide to tie all of these areas together and unify that ghostly look on the miniature. I'm wanting to just pick out the most raised details as well as any large flat areas as well, slowly building up the white until I get an effect that I'm happy with. After the dry brush, all of the raised details have been picked out and that ghostly effect is really coming out. So now with some Kislev flesh, I'm going to dry brush over the areas of skin. I'm being careful to only get this over the skin, avoiding getting this over the fabric or any of the other details. I'm being very light with this dry brush as I want to leave some of the white showing, but also catching some of the most raised details with that Kislev flesh just to brighten them up and add some interest. The slightly dusty effect that can come from dry brushing actually works really well here, as it helps give that ghostly, otherworldly feel to the skin as well as the rest of the model. After the dry brush, some of the base colour should be showing, with the greeny effect from the Nighthaunts oxide, as well as some of the white and the brighter Kislev flesh, bringing out all of the details on the miniature. And after the dry brush on the skin, it's brightened up the details. So now with some Stormhost Silver, I'm applying a light dry brush all over the metal details. I want this to be a very light dry brush and just apply a few light spots of silver to give the impression of a glisten to the metal. You could use Necron Compound dry paint for this dry brush if you have any, but Stormhost Silver works just as well, as long as you remove a lot of the paint so it's just a very, very light dry brush over the chainmail, crowns and armbands. And with the metal dry brush, there's just one final step to apply to this ghostly model. And that's with some white scar. I'm picking out the eyes to the model. This shade model has a lot of faces to it, so there's quite a few eyes to paint. Normally when I'm painting eyes on a mini, I come back in with black afterwards to create a pupil, but for these eyes I'm just painting white into the recesses to give the impression of cold, dead, staring eyes. And with the eyes painted, that's how to quickly and easily paint a ghostly looking model for your armies. Any ghost can be painted up this way, not just the shade. By picking out just a couple of details on the model, it really lifts the model up from just being a bluish or greenish blob with some white highlights to a model that has some personality and will stand out on the tabletop. So please let me know in the comments down below, do you play with any ghost armies or models? And what's your favourite ghost army to play with? But thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you would like, you can join me for free over on Patreon. And happy painting!